Hello, everyone. My name's Michelle Santana. For any of y'all that do not know me, I haven't really done a video like this um, since last September. After that, I did some little videos, short videos, and a few over the winter. But I'm going to be doing this video a little different than I did um, last year when I was doing live videos. And if you see this on YouTube, which this video will be uplifted to my YouTube channel, I would so appreciate it if you could give me a like and subscribe to me and maybe comment and tell me what you think of what I'm saying. If you see this on YouTube, I haven't made this, said this hardly any, so I'm saying it now so it'll get my videos going in a more rapid way to people that it could possibly help. So thank you for that. Okay, I know a lot of you already know that I came from the most horrific childhood, but I didn't know my childhood was horrific when I was a teenager. And what I know now, it's understandable because of what I went through as my child. As a child, I understand now why I was so angry and defiant towards my parents when I was a teenager. Um, Starting at age 14, I went to many parties, and me and my best friend, and our parents would drop us off at either the skating rink or the movie theater. And it's like my mom, she was so strict in my house, but it's like she asked no questions um, when I came home of where I had been, what I had been doing, what skating was like, what the movie was like, and none of that. So, and I was extremely promiscuous, which, as a teenager, I didn't understand that, but I know now how traumatizing that was for me. And so when I was 15 years old, me and a friend of mine ran away during church, during a Pentecostal charismatic church meeting. And I understand it now because of my defiant, rebellious attitude, because in my subconscious, all that I had blocked out was playing out anyways through my behaviors. So, yeah, I blocked it out and it helped me survive, but I was still acting out through all of that in my subconscious that knew what had happened to me as a child. So that took a long time to get over. And then um, I ran away when I was 17 years old, and I moved in with a man friend. He was much older than me. I was 17 years old. And so that didn't last but maybe 3 months. And I had the best time of my life, just partying, drinking, doing drugs, staying out at the pool, getting dark as heck. And so that ended, and I went home, and then I went to more parties, and I was gang raped. And this was set up by a girl that was maybe a few months younger than me, 17 years old, and she was just real, I guess, really jealous of all the guys I went to bed with, but she had no clue. no clue how horrible my life was, but she set me up anyways, um, for me to get gang raped. And so that led me to going to a girlfriend's house that I become aware of, and she was also in her 20s. So I drove myself to her house after I had been gang raped, and there again, we were partying, drinking, doing quaaludes, smoking dope, doing cocaine, just you name it, we did it. Um, and so my dad and my mom came, somehow found me because I don't know, somehow they found me and they came knocking on the door. The music was loud, and so somebody turned the music down, and my friend opened the door, and there was my dad, and he came in there and he says, "Let's go, Connie. You are not doing this again. You're coming with me now." And so, to not make a scene, I left because I didn't want to be embarrassed by my parents, y'all. But when I left, I was so enraged through anger and defiance and rebellion, not knowing what my mom and dad had done to me as a child. So I went berserk once got into the car, and I was raising hell with them, screaming, hollering, and they took me to the emergency room. And so in the emergency room, um, I went in. They practically drugged me in with me screaming and hollering, and I mean, yeah, I went straight to a room. They took me straight to a room, and it took all these nurses. And see, I can laugh about this now, y'all, because of the healing I've been granted to me by God recently. So that's why I'm laughing, because it don't affect me no more whatsoever. And so they the doctor came in, and him and the nurses holding me down, and evidently he gave me a shot of a sedative. And then I woke up in the hospital. I woke up in the emergency room after he sedated me, and my arms were behind my back in a straitjacket, y'all. And I was not mentally ill to where I needed a straight jacket. It could have been handled in a better way had they have understood what I had went through as a child, and that these people that brought me into the hospital were actually the ones that abused me and neglected me. And so yeah, I left home again. The woman where I was at, she she let me move in with her, and yeah. Okay, hold on. I'm reading my notes. Make sure I don't forget nothing that's really important to me. And so anyway, when that I was 17, when I was 18, I got a job. My dad actually got me a job at a lighting fixture, the world's largest lighting fixture manufacturer in Conyers, Georgia, Lithonia Lighting. And so I worked on assembly lines making the light fixtures and the cables that connected the light fixtures. So that's where I met my husband to be, Michael, but he was called Larry then. But I liked Michael better. So later on in our years of marriage, we I started calling him Michael. But anyways, I had a lot of different counselors starting in 1995. In 1995 is when all of that childhood shit started surfacing, and I began to come aware of what had happened to me as a child. And so I had counseling by two or three different counselors from church, they done more damage to me than they helped me, because they didn't know what they were doing, and they didn't know that I had childhood onset of PTSD. So I'm going over this because my purpose in my videos is to help families and help people recover from mental illnesses like I suffered most of my life until recently. And so that's my passion. But because of our religion, those of us that have severe mental illness, it's almost impossible to recover from it through trying to connect to a God in a external way, the way we're programmed to believe, and the way all of our pastors have been programmed to believe. And now everything is being exposed, and I'm becoming to understand why. And I will get back to that late in just a few minutes. But so when my son was a year old, I checked myself into a drug rehab hospital, even though I wasn't really addicted to drugs. And because I was so horrifically traumatized in my subconscious, and it led to the most darkest depression I had ever experienced. And I didn't know I had postpartum depression. My son was 1 year old when I went into that hospital, and I told the psychiatrist what had been done to me. Well, not what had been done to me, but what I did as a teenager. And 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 I told him a little bit of my parents' background, and I told him about the gang rape that I had never told my husband. And he told me, if you tell your husband, if he finds out about all of this, he's liable to leave you. So that's why I left him first. And that took a lot a lot of healing to get through, because in church, that's the worst thing you can do, is to commit adultery, isn't it? And yeah, me and Larry met when he was married, but I didn't know he was married. And so you can read my book, Reappearing Before Her Eyes, the Isabella LeBlanc story. But there again, so I committed adultery 2 times. And why I'm telling you this is because I want to make it evident of what the behaviors I had in the hard time I had healing in the religious church backgrounds. And I mean, I've been to a lot of different church, Baptist, Pentecostal, charismatic, and yeah, they were all bad. And I was very traumatized by a Baptist pastor when I was 9 years old. That after that, in my adulthood, I didn't know why, because I blocked it out. I could not look a pastor in the eyes. And when a pastor came to me, I went to church a lot, y'all, as an adult. From the time I was um, 22 until, gosh, 11 years ago, I went to church all the time, but I could not look a pastor in his eyes. If he started walking up towards me, I had to look the other way and go off this way or something, because I could not look him in the eye. And now I know, because of the traumatized that I suffered as a little child in church. And you can read about that in Reappearing Before Her Eyes. But anyways, me and Michael moved up here to the mountains. It was always a dream of mine, and we did it in 2013, and it was the best thing that could have happened to me. And I've had 3 things that was the best that ever happened to me, that all happened on Labor Day weekend. And The first time was moving to Florida when our son was 15, 16 years old. We did that, moved down to the coast, um, right near St. George Island on the Apalachicola Bay. We moved down there on Labor Day weekend. We moved up here to the mountains on Labor Day weekend, and I'll tell you about the third time in a few minutes what was the best thing in my life that happened on Labor Day weekend. So, anyways, we move up here, and I start. I was with Mike less than 2 years when I got enough bravery in me and I left him, and that took a lot out of me. And I would like y'all to understand how scared and nervous I was my whole life in speaking, because I stuttered real bad when I was really little. And I talked to my aunt a few months ago, and she says, I don't remember you stuttering. And she probably married into the family when I was around 12. And I learned I didn't speak unless I felt comfortable enough and I was not nervous to where I wouldn't stutter. But in school and when I was nervous or when I was getting in trouble, I stuttered bad. School was a nightmare. So anyway, when I left, I started doing more and more meditations, which I had learned back in 2007 when I began going to a counselor, my very best counselor down near Atlanta. She specialized in trauma, and she did EMDR therapy on me, which is sort of a hypnotist uh, type of therapy. And she did guided meditations, and where she would talk me through a meditation that would help, really, really help me, as being a very suffering through very, really, really bad traumatized um, kind of ways. So that, because when I started her in 2007, I had an idea what had happened to me, but I didn't have any concrete evidence. And so she was my best counselor in 2007. So in 2013, I remembered a meditation she had me do, and it was from Health Journeys, and it was a meditation on trauma, which takes you inside into your heart, and you visualize through the woman speaking. She takes you through this visualization of picturing walking through your heart, walking through your heart, and it's up on top, because this is on trauma, being traumatized. It was black and smoky, and there were little there was craters all over with smoke just going psh, psh, and everywhere you walked, all of a sudden it'd go psh. And so you was walking through that, and the meditation led you down. It told you to visualize light at the end of a tunnel that you were walking down into your heart. Now you're in your heart, and so you're walking down, and it tells you to visualize the most beautiful place. And I did, and you could read about that in my book. But that is the beginning. Doing that meditation when I lived down here at the bottom of this mountain, I did that meditation almost every night for like over almost 2 years, or a little bit more than 2 years. I did that pretty much every night, and I didn't have any cable, satellite TV, internet down there, because I was in a hole in a gully, the bottom of a holler of these mountains. So, and I loved it. I loved it. I didn't have the ability to get on Facebook hardly any, and that I sort of wished I could go back to that, but I can't. Not if I'm expecting to promote my novel that's coming up. So we must deal with Facebook, but the best thing to do with that is try not to get on it so much. I listen more to YouTube videos of meditative songs and spiritual teachings. So that's where I get all my online experiences from. But anyway, so I move up here. Okay, hold on. I want to go through my cards and make sure I've said everything that was the most important before I go any further. Okay. Okay, I realized through learning the law of attraction that I became started really studying when I moved out on my own in 2015, the first time I had ever been by myself. And I realized how my emotional feelings due to all my brain activity that it was stuck in flight, fight, or um, freeze. My when you suffer trauma, especially multiple complex trauma of a child, your brain is stuck in that. I learned that because I took classes on it and learned that. So, man, there was no wonder I had so much fear, shame, guilt, anxiety, depression, anger that was buried deep down into my soul and my spirit. And so you cannot recover from that in church. That's why I want this to be my first video of getting back on here, because I want people to understand that we are now seeing everything is coming out and being exposed. And with what we're learning about the Catholic Church, the Pope, and the people that are high up, they're connected to Israel, the government of Israel, which is connected to Epstein and all of our governments around the world and our government. And so that's how I know what I've been learning is true. And y'all can think what you want to, because you have that choice to think what you want to. But I'm telling you now that there are so many people, and so I'm speaking to pastors of churches, because they could learn this. And I got a bee flying around me. Oh shit. Go on, bee. Okay, so I had to say a little prayer. um, our pastors could dig more into spirituality and the law of attraction. And I am not talking about New Age. I am not New Age. I am a spiritual, metaphysical Christian. And we believe, and this is what people with mental illnesses need to realize, so they can recover, because the medications that I was put on in 2006, I was on like 7 or 8 different mental illness medications. Seven, y'all, 7 to 8 different ones, and that effed me up worse. Medications can mess us up worse. It might help in the moment sometimes, but I have even heard a psychiatrist that says, that has admitted that in the long run, it doesn't work. It doesn't heal mental illnesses, but our connection to God, my connection to God, how I have healed the last 11 years, I am proof. I am proof. Anybody can heal from mental illness just by connecting to God in a spirituality way. And so we are judged and condemned in church without maybe them realizing it, the pastors and the people that help him run the churches. We are steeped in condemnation and judgment because of our behaviors. And I'm telling you all of the behaviors I had and why I had that. God, God did not hold none of that against me. And my God is a God of pure love. He would never say to me, Michelle, or back then, Connie, you have got to believe that I sent my son Jesus down here to be sacrificed and for his blood to save you from hell. That you have the choice to choose me or choose hell. That is not the God I have connected to and experienced. And these churches can say all they want to about how I have had one pastor tell me that my freedom is false, and my the fruits of my spirit are proof that what I have healed from through my connection to God in a spiritual way by going inside my heart, doing meditations, and it's been mind blowing to me how I can look back to way back then as a child, a teenager, a young adult, and then leaving Mike, and oh my God, I am a living, walking miracle. And so, and it's all been through spirituality, and and so, okay, hold on a minute. Okay, through the last 11 years, or mostly during the last 6 years that I've been writing my novel, reappearing before her eyes. I will actually several, and you can read about all of this in my novel that's coming out. I am very confident it's going to be out by the end of this year because we are just beginning to get back to the editing and we don't have that much left. So, yeah. So you better read all of this in there. And I learned that things would happen in my current reality that would trigger this intense emotional trauma that was actually from the trauma of my childhood, my teenager years, and my and me being a young adult, and it was triggering that. And because I've learned how to do meditation so well, and it takes practice, y'all, but I've been doing it so well that God tells me, God shows me what my current life has triggered so I can feel those feelings of intense anger and pain and crying and doing all that, and I can talk to God in a prayer like way and hand it to him, release it to him, and let him transmute it into love. And so that is one way I have learned to heal from my mental illnesses, from all the intense anxiety, depression, sadness, guilt, shame. I mean, a whole bunch of shit I've been recovering from and healing from. And I'm here to tell you, it feels really great to be free from all of that. And it really makes me mad as hell for a pastor to tell me that I have, that all that's false, and no, you ain't really healed. You, I mean, he must be thinking I'm imagining all this. I don't know, but it used to really, really piss me off. And so, okay, I've done a whole lot of healing through writing my novel, and I have already mentioned this, but I am going to be mentioning it a lot because Frank is the most huge part of me being able to dig back into the trauma that I knew, that I could remember and write and type it out. And he was with me in messages the whole 5 years and all. And um, there's been some people that have a very hard time understanding my live videos and my post of telling how I feel through spirituality by saying I don't believe in hell. I believe that all that of God sending Jesus down here for him to sacrifice his blood for us is all satanic. That's what's coming out, y'all. And it would really help our pastors to really dig into that now that everything is being exposed, because one of my editor works in a agency called Positive Pathways in Blairsville, and I understand what these people are going through that come in there that are addicted to drugs, or else they're so trapped in their mind through trauma and stuff that happened to us. And they could heal so much just like us if they weren't scared of hell. Because I've had two friends at that agency that really, really could benefit from learning how I've healed through spirituality, and they unfriend me. And you know why God showed me they unfriend me, or anybody else? I've had some good friends locally unfriend me because of what I'm speaking, and I'm speaking in love, y'all. I'm the most kindest. I have lots of people tell me this of how big my heart is, how kind I am, how loving I am. How can somebody unfriend a friend that shows nothing but love just because of their faith? How they have healed. You know what that's from? It's from their fear. I believe they're so afraid something is going to rub off on them, or the division that is linked to this religion, Christianity, that makes it to where we are the only ones that can be right. That's satanic. And for somebody to unfriend me over what I'm speaking out, I mean, oh my God, I have some really good friends. They don't necessarily believe like me, but a lot of my friends and two good Christian counselors, psychologists that I've had up here in the mountains that are Christian, they say to me, I can have an open mind about this, Michelle. I'm not going to tell you that you are wrong. And I've had a beautiful pastor. I'm not going to say his name because maybe he wouldn't want me to say his name, but he was a beautiful pastor in a small church in Hiawassee, Georgia, where I lived. I talked to him a few years ago and told him how I was healing, and he says, Michelle, keep on doing what you're doing. Who knows? Maybe there is reincarnation. Um, maybe there isn't a burning hell. He was saying the same thing. Maybe he don't believe that, but he ain't going to make me feel that I'm going to go to hell because of the way I've connected to God. It's so stupid. If people would really start to think about this and how stupid it is, how people have unfriended me. The only times I unfriend somebody is when they're ugly and they're full of hate and they spew all this hate and violence. That's the only time I unfriend people. And so, yeah, it's crazy. And so Frank was the first person that believed like I believed in spirituality, and that's how he healed from a whole lot of stuff, just like I did. Okay, hold on a minute. I said that. Oh, um, okay. Y'all have already heard from me the most beautiful connection Frank and I had. Memorial, Labor Day weekend, September, Labor Day weekend, 2023, when he finally was able to come up here because he had been in Florida working so hard to save a multi-million dollar company that he owned with a partner. And so, that is the beautiful thing of our friendship. For the 3 years until he came up here, we were attracted to each other romantically, but we put it in God's hands. It was so beautiful to have a man like Frank to say how yeah, he wanted a life with me, but let's just see if it's in the cards. And then we have pastors saying, oh, that's satanic tarot cards, and that's bullshit, because I know it is not demonic. There is so much stuff that is demonic that people are doing, that are accusing me of connecting to the wrong God. And one of those is being a part of the the Freemasons. That is so steeped in satanic worship, and all the people in the Epstein's, the shadow government, and all that. Oh my God! So me and Frank connected in the most beautiful way, and he was about to have two back surgeries. So he came up here, and we had the most beautiful time, even though he was in so much pain. And what we realized was that we were soulmates. We learned that, and come to find out later down the road, oh, make this bee go away, Papa. We learned that we were soulmates, lovers in another lifetime. And that is the beauty of God. He gives us hundreds and hundreds of times to come down here, and we choose to come down here, because there is so many of us that fell short of God in the fall of the angels and all of that, but that was eons and eons ago. But some of us are in the most beautiful place with God, knowing God and being so an angelic being in our spirit, and we choose to come down here. So that's how we can get over this shit that God puts us through so much hell, because that isn't true. We choose to come down here, and we are living in I don't know how to pronounce this word, but it's the word that they use to, like, being a pilot or something, stimulation, whatever that word is, to where it really feels like you're flying a plane, but you're on the ground and you ain't moving. Well, that is like the whole world is. We all have different movie parts. We are all in a dream. We are all in a dream, and we all have movie parts, and we have contracts that is blueprinted out of our whole life, where we are going over it with our spirit guides and God before we ever come down here. So we're like, oh yeah, I can do this, I can handle this, I want to go, I want to strengthen my spirit. And so we choose to come down here, and we go through all this stuff. And but when we're born, the minute we're born, we still have that. As a little newborn baby, we still have that beautiful connection to God. And it's amazing. But Christians and different other religions teach us that we are born a sinner. We are born and God is angry at us. And we are taught that is the way we are born into our life, and that is bullshit. And that's why so many of us and people I would love to see healed through mental illnesses can't, because of the bullshit that Satan, that what y'all call Satan, has created in our world of Christianity and the blood of Jesus. And I'm going to say this over and over, the beauty of God sending Jesus down here. He was the Christ. Jesus was the Christ to show us in a human form how we can connect to that Christ spark that's inside of our hearts. And it's been there for eons and eons. Every time we have reincarnated down here, it's always been here. But God sent Jesus to show us how to overcome this movie theater that we're in, that we're playing out. And what's beautiful is when our body dies, we don't die. When our body dies and we transfer into the spirit realm, our memory comes back. But in the whole point of our life here on earth, and I can get so excited and passionate about this because it is how I have healed through so much trauma that no child should ever go to. And so it's beautiful. And so when we pass over, that's when we realize, oh yes, it was but a dream. You know, row your boat, life is but a dream. That is true, y'all. There is so much of our children's rhymes that are so true. It's so beautiful. But so yeah, me and Frank had that beautiful relationship. And so when he died, he could never, we weren't never supposed to connect back together. The only the only reason we connected, for us to realize we were soulmates in another life. And that was the whole purpose. And how when he went back for the two, see, three, for the 2 years he was in Florida and I was up here, he was doing the most awesome job of, man, that man worked his ass off in a good way in his heart. And he healed, he told me a lot of stuff that he had healed from. And so a lot of, I will speak a lot of this into my epilogue. I will say it real briefly about how he is the reason I am so healed the last 7 months since he passed. And for me to connect to him through a psychic medium a few weeks ago, and I learned why he didn't tell his family about us, because he wanted to be able to physically introduce me to them but we never got that chance. So he didn't, our relationship was so special. He didn't want his family to know about us until we could meet physically. And so I learned that when I connected to him. So I can let all that pain go of how I learned on Facebook that he was dead, because we were chatting in Messenger um, about, the back surgeries he had. Two back surgeries. I had open heart surgery. And so all of that kept us from meeting back again. But he learned last October that he had cancer, and it was all over his body. In less than a week, he was dead. That's how sudden it was, and that's how shocking it was for me. But I'm in such a better place because of our weird relationship we had, because I've had two counselors tell me, because I explain a whole lot more to them than I can here because it's private, and they said what y'all had was very rare, and it was very rare. And so the last 7 months I have been healing from the shock of him passing, but I always, from after the initial shock, about the first 5 minutes when I saw that post that he was dead, that he passed, I was so angry at God for about 5 minutes. And yeah, I didn't. I said, I don't want to live here no more, you know. And yo, that's a really hard thing to live through. So anyway, yeah, because of my connection, my meditations, and my understanding of everything I was going through, I have healed miraculously the last 7 months. It's been beautiful, and not only have I healed from the shock of him passing on, even though I'm so glad he is on the other side, because he is right here, right now, with me, supporting me. And that's why I would be talking about him periodically, even though we were going to keep our life private, because my books are an open book of my life, and my life with him I wanted to keep private. But because he's right here in spirit form, it's different. So I'm going to be speaking a lot about him, because he is, I have healed so much in the last 7 months from the memories. Okay, the memories came up from the trauma I experienced of what my dad did to me as a child, and what I witnessed him do to my sister when I was age 4 years old to age 8 years old. I started stuttering when I was 4 years old, when I started witnessing him doing effed up shit that a child should never have to go through. And that's why I'm passionate about this. And through the connection I had with Frank, I've learned his spiritual name, but that's for me, private, and my closest friends. But I don't call him Frank no more. But he's right here with me, and he has protected me in the most beautiful way. In a few days before he died, I have. Okay, I want to see if y'all might can see this. I don't know if you can. I can't get it in the view. Okay, this, my bedroom is up there, and there's a ledge from this part where about 6 or 7 crows flew up there and looked at me through my sunlight. When I looked up, I was woke up in bed, and I looked up, and that's the first thing I seen. And I have a shaman friend out west on the west coast, northwest coast. He keeps me protected. He's a shaman. He is not, it is not demonic. He is a beautiful shamanic man. Native American that loves God, and all of us love God, and we we strive to live our life here on earth the way Joshua was teaching us to live, but the church has got it all wrong. And the way I've healed is the way Joshua was teaching us to heal and to overcome the government and the religions, the Torah and the Jewish that didn't believe in the Messiah. He was teaching us to be leaders, to overcome them, and to rise up and to not let them control us like they are. And that's the beauty of it, y'all, because in the next few years, y'all, this world is ending. This world that we know right now is ending. And that's the beautiful thing of us that learn how to meet God through our learning of spirituality. And it's beautiful that we learn that we are not victims. We are not victims of nothing. And my shaman friend told me like a year before that, he says, I have ceremonies and I pray to the Great Spirit, which is the same God that the New Testament sent Jesus down here. But he sent that God, that true God, sent Jesus, Yahshua, down here to show us the love he had for us, because Joshua knew he was going to be crucified, because the government and the religious people didn't like what he was teaching all of us. They didn't want us to know what Joshua was teaching, because then they couldn't control and enslave us. We are enslaved here on earth. And that's the beauty of it, because we are fixing to move into a new earth, and the evil people are fixing to go down to a lower dimension from the old earth. It's sort of splitting in a way, and that's the reality of it. And so the more closer we get to God, the more we live our life the way Yahshua was teaching us to live, the higher up in the heavenly dimensions we will get. And I'm saying all of this to tell y'all, oh man, there's a beautiful dove walking on my roof up there. That's beautiful. Look up at that. That was a blessing from my God. So anyway, uh, I learned that my beautiful soulmate is in Pleiadian. He is a Pleiadian, and that's in the seventh dimension. And the beautiful woman that is a woman of God that loves God with all her heart said that that was unusual, because what we go through down here, we are not able to overcome into to pass over in a higher dimension. There are dimensions, and see, that's the trick of the devil that is speaking through us into our minds. That is the only thing the devil is, that speaks us into our minds, and we believe what the devil is telling us. And so it's hard to to pass over our spirit into a higher dimension other than the fourth dimension, which is one dimension up from this earth. And so he's in the seventh dimension, and that's where I'm from. I'm a Pleiadian from the seventh dimension, and all of y'all are going to be so having your minds blown away when nothing is going to turn out to what you've been preached in church. We are all going through it all to the end. And those of us that have learned through ETs, so there are planets. All those stars we see up in the sky are different dimensions, different planets of spiritual beings, and they are in the higher spiritual being of God's light. They're ETs, y'all. And so we learn a lot of stuff because they speak to us just like prophets. God's angels speak to prophets and then they prophesize to us. It's the same thing. And because there's different levels of heavenly dementias, and so I think the way we've been told a biggest thing is, you know, how they tricked us about COVID, and so many of us fell for it, but I didn't wear the effing mask. I went into stores because I didn't believe the shit. And so they are fixing, okay, God is bringing everything out in the open, and that's the job of President Trump, is to bring all this out in the open. And all of y'all think he is yeah, he is not a man of God, but that was his whole soul contract, to come down here, live his life, and to expose all of this shit in our government. The only thing I don't understand is how he's letting the government of Israel lead him into this stupid war, mostly because it's what Israel wants. He did not campaign on wars. We all know that, but still, I would hell of a lot better have him as our president than Kamala. Oh my God, y'all. And y'all are so fooled if y'all think things would have been better with Kamala. Oh my God. So they're fixing to tell us, because all of this information, all of this has got to come out before we can rise up to the new earth and the evil people fall down to the old earth. All of this has got to come to light, and we are all going to live through it. We are not being taken out of it. That is not going to happen. And you either get a mindset that you totally trust God and you can believe in your imagination of your heart, or our upper mind talks to our heart back and forth. And so we are able to not let the government overwhelm us with fear, because they're fixing to tell us we're going to be invaded by bad ETs. And yes, there are bad ETs, and the bad ETs have been running our government. They are the ones behind all the corrupt of the shadow government that's all over our world. So don't fall for that shit, y'all. When they come out and they say we're fixing to be invaded, if you know in your heart who God is, and how there's zillions and zillions of angels and spiritual beings that are ETs living in different dimensions that are working for us. And you know how I experienced this, because we are taught that we have spirit guides that are with us up in heaven before we're born, that go over with us everything we're going to go through, but we forget all of that once we're born. So we all have spirit guides. And I have learned in my meditations, I have been doing meditations where I get in a quiet place, in a dark, quiet place, and it's perfectly dark, quiet, no music, no nothing, no meditative music, no nothing. And God speaks to me. And so I know the power I have of all these spiritual beings that are ETs, and the archangels. There are 25 archangels, but they have all these other spiritual beings. Just because it's not in the Bible, y'all don't want to believe it, but I can believe it, because the other night I was upstairs in the attic in the bed, and I was trying to wind down my day and meditate and get sleepy, and all of a sudden I started hearing this. It sounded like a little dog barking and barking, and then it would bark and bark and bark, and then it would cry, and it would really cry out in such a horrific way. It was killing me in my heart because I love animals, and there was nobody up here. I'm the only one up here most of the time, and I'm just fine. A lot of people say, "How do you live up there all by yourself?" I'm fine. I'm not afraid. And so, but I knew there was nobody around here that would be walking a dog up here, especially not late at night. And I came down after it did this for like 30 to 45 minutes. I came down here to the deck down there, and the dog was coming from way down there. That's like in the uh ravine. It ain't a holler, it's a ravine, and it's way down there. And that little doggy was down there crying and crying and barking. And I called 911 before I came down here. I called them and I says, "I'm sorry, but y'all are the only ones I know to call to find out who I can call to get help from somebody to come rescue this dog because it was killing my heart, y'all." And I don't give a shit what they thought of me. But anyway, they gave me a phone number, and that didn't work. They wouldn't pick up the message until the next morning, animal control. So I came down here and I was listening to it, and it was way down there, and it wasn't moving. I could tell that the bark was coming from the exact same place where the dog was not moving. And because I know my spirit guides are with me, I called out to my spirit guides. And see, we are not praying to spirit guides. We know the spirit guides are a connection to the one source of God that is the one true God. And so I'll get back to something else after I finish this. I told my spirit guides, I said, "Please go help them now." And I didn't beg them. I just said, "Please go down there now and help them." Just like that, the dog stopped barking, and I heard a huge movement of, I don't know what it was, but I heard a huge movement going down the mountain away from the dog. So whatever was trying to surround it and harm it, they all left. And so I am believing that dog is fine. And I'm telling you, there can be so much stuff that we can be about to go through. And if you don't know your place with God in the angelic beings and the ETs that are here for us, to be able to know that all you got to do is call out to them and they are here for us, that's why I'm not afraid. And so whatever you are imagining in your mind that is about to happen, you will live through that. And so the people that are living in fear, tremendous fear of what the government is telling us and what's about to happen, World War III, the nuclear bomb, whatever, they are going to live through that. Everybody that's fearful, that don't know who they are in God, they're going to live through that. But the beautiful thing of it, the rapture is for all of us. It's for all of us that are not evil. And we will be taken out. Once they are living through that, whatever if it's the whole earth erupts in fire or there's a nuclear bomb, whatever, they will just like that go into the fourth dimension. And so the ones of us that are spiritualists, we are aiming for the fifth dimension and higher. I'm aiming for the seventh dimension. because I know that's where my heart is and how much love I have for God. We people say we think we're gods. We don't think we're gods. That's bullshit that people teach the religion that we think we're gods. If we say that we are little gods, we mean because we were made in the image of God. God made us in his image, and Yahshua was teaching us to do all these miracles that he did, and it's all in our mind, in our thoughts. Whatever we're thinking and imagining, we can create for ourselves. That is how I have recovered from the worst mental illness to where I can't wait till y'all read my novel. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so I said that. Um, said that. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. Um, so if you get fearful, or you get into the demonic division of religion and you want to unfriend me, go right ahead, unfriend me, because I'm going up to the new earth and I'm going up in the most beautiful way, just like my soulmate went. And I know that my book is going to be published by the end of this year. I am looking for a platonic business partner, a male business partner that can protect me as I travel on my book tours. And what we as spiritualists in our faith in God, when you become healed and you know who you truly are, like I have totally dropped all that shame, all that negative shit that was in my mind. So I know I can just leave that up to God. I don't know how it will come or who it will be, but I've got a good life ahead of me. And I know that because of the psychic medium that was connecting me to my soulmate. And I don't think there's no other man that can connect to me in a way that he did. So that's why I am good as a single woman. So y'all have a beautiful evening. I love all of y'all. And if you want to unfriend me, even though I love you, that is so sad for you. So have a good evening. Thank you.